back to the BlueWhite Tailgate Pawcast. Andrew Clissa, Mike Gross of the Gross Rational Product, and Frank Lodani of the York Daily Record. We are talking exclusively right now Penn State football. It is the week of the BlueWhite Game. Guys, we have talked about spring practice. We've talked pro day. We've talked everything there is to talk about: wrestling, hockey, basketball. It all leads to this weekend in Beaver Stadium, the grand hoopla, the Blue-White Game. But first, before we get to that, we're still going to talk football a little bit. Spring game happenings all over the country, some making headlines for good reasons, some making headlines for other reasons. Parachuting into a stadium wearing an American flag or having an American flag below you as an anchor, not to be advised. You guys have seen this video, right? As we take a look at it here on the podcast. This is Lane Stadium, Virginia Tech. Not that Penn State fans care at all. You know, the Virginia Tech fans say, move on, people. James Franklin is ours. This is a bad omen, I would say, as the guy goes crashing into the big board. All good, though. We could joke about it because the gentleman was okay. This is a bad sign for big games for James Franklin, is it not? The American flag goes crashing in your debut.
You know that this drove James nuts because he's very into this kind of symbolic appearance. How do we look? Messaging stuff. So you know that he was absolutely displeased at this. And he's talked a little bit in this offseason about changing how everything looks and sending a different sort of visual message. So, that was not on James's Christmas list, first or last on his Christmas list, to have the parachuting guy crash into but I don't know that it's a bad omen, but it's a bad look.
Yeah, well, we never had parachuters come into Beaver Stadium under his watch, did we?
I don't remember that.
Too high.
Oh, okay. Well, no matter what, I guess the good thing is nobody will remember, I don't think, what happenings at spring games / practices for much more than a week or a day.
Except for the parachutist and his family.
Well, sure.
I'll say this.
So,
do you remember Croke Park? The guy carrying the UCF game ball missed the stadium and landed on the train line behind it.
I do remember that now that you mentioned it.
Now that you mentioned it, I never would have had that forefront in my memory.
Ben Jones tweeted about it, and I do remember it. Standing as Penn State was coming out of the tunnel, waiting for them. I just left Kenny Mayne was throwing a football with some kid on the sidelines. And I went down and I remember like looking up and I'm like, shit, that guy's not going to make it.
That was the first game of James, obviously the first game of James's tenure at Penn State. So maybe there's a theme alert here.
And I still have a video on my phone of standing behind the goalposts as Sam Ficken's winning kick goes flying through.
Wow.
All these years later.
I got a great shot of Ficken getting lifted up by James going, Ficken! I just remember storming that field. Yeah. All right. So bad omen there for James with the fly go crashing down. And you're right, Mike. It's going to drive him nuts. I wonder if Sandy Barber called him to have like a kumbaya, because I remember Jeff Byers on the post game when I did it on ESPN radio up in State College was like, we need a director of fireworks because one of the fireworks like didn't go off and it threw off the whole aesthetics.
Maybe Guido was involved somehow.
Yeah,
and maybe he was the parachutist.
Yeah.
Actually, Guido.
Virginia Tech fans are probably claiming Penn State sabotage. But yeah, all right. So spring game. Lots to look forward to. Fans, you get to see these guys out there. A lot of new names and faces will be going up. Guys, I'm excited just to see these guys. It's one thing to see them in practice going through drills, but I think the real familiarity you get is when you see them actually lined up, and that's when you could actually say, here's my corner, here's my safety, from a fan's perspective, rather than just seeing drills and see them in front of a camera and a microphone and a sound bite. Is it not? I mean, this is a great opportunity for fans.
Yeah, I think it's get to know the new team, and it's getting to know the new team a little better. A team unlike any other at Penn State, right? I mean, how many people, how many players do fans really connect with at the moment? Well, there's like 50 new guys. That's
Yeah.
never happened in any form or fashion. So, hey, it's a day to get to meet some of these guys. It's a day to maybe, hey, if you're if you're a kid or something, you get maybe one autograph experience with one guy in particular that stands out to you, right? And there's one more person that you didn't know that you might be thinking about and trying to look up and read about. And it's a process, good one for fans. I mean, you got to have this in any way. So
I think there will be at least one tweet from somebody saying, I can't believe how small Rocco Beck looks.
I already gave you that impression, a month ago.
Which I don't think is a big deal, but he doesn't look big for whatever it's worth.
Neither was Doug Flutie, Mike.
Again, I am not down. I am not disparaging Rocco Beck in any way, shape, or form. For God's sake, the man has his own logo.
That's true.
Far be it for me.
That's true. Just
That reminds me, by the way, the BlueWhite Tailgate Pawcast logo, that would be good for merch.
we could.
I'm looking at it right now on your screen, Andrew.
I know printers.
Just saying.
We could do it.
Just saying. Don't need to belabor it. Just saying.
Some people aren't fans of the name. I have friends come up to me all the time and say, podcast, just call it the podcast. I'm like, I wanted to play on words a little bit. Relax. It's an logo. My girl, Andrea, she made this for me. Logo's tight. I'm not going to lie. That would look really good on a hat. Like a trucker hat. I think the shield. Yeah, it would look pretty good.
I'm with you.
We're probably going to get sued because I just said the shield. I'm not going to allude to why, but you guys know as being sports writers why.
Yes, I do.
What is this game even going to look like? Because Matt Campbell and the presser said, we're going to see 25 minutes of stretching. Well, we see that every game, so that's nothing different.
Yeah.
But seriously, what is this going to look like?
Well, he used the phrase driving 7-on-7. I'm not sure what that means. I guess we're going to see a portion of 7-on-7 and a portion, I hope, of 11-on-11. That would be really strange if it wasn't. I'm always struck whenever Matt Campbell talks and whenever I watch practice this spring as how basic they seem to be, how remedial everything seems to be. And I'm probably just completely misreading that and overreacting to it, but it seems like they're just being very simple, and let's figure out let's put really simple stuff in so we can figure out what we have. But I do think that the BlueWhite game, the BlueWhite event, is going to be a little bit more game and scrimmage like than what we've seen to this point, and probably similar to what we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think maybe the whole name change and everything might be a little overblown because, hey, it doesn't matter what year it is. A lot of the expected starters aren't participating anyway. Doesn't matter if it's 2004 or 14 or 26, right? Because that's just the way it goes. Either they don't want to practice to protect them, or they're rehabbing or injury recovering. And I don't know, once you get into about 15 minutes of any BlueWhite game and the players start switching sides and coming in, I'm not sure it's going to matter a whole lot as to what it looks like. Because to me, it's really about what we talked about, right? Getting to be in Beaver Stadium, get to know some of the new players, get to see them. And from the players' perspective, Matt Campbell talked about this. These new guys, especially the ones who've never played at Penn State, they can use this, right? They've never been in that big of a stadium in front of any fans. And I think anything like this will help acclimate, bring the team together, help them out, especially, at the end here. So.
I've never bought into that at all. Frank, what you just said in years past, like it's really good to get in there and get our feet wet and just, let the guys experience, what this big cathedral is and everything else. I mean, I've never bought into it, but this year, because it's an entire roster of people that have never stepped foot in there. So just getting in there to see it empty like that, I actually think this year it does kind of matter. I think it matters for some positions to get used to sight lines and things like that. And I know they're all different during the games, but I do think that all plays a role. In the past, not so much, but this year, I'm actually buying into it. I'm buying into coach speak, and I don't even like coach speak.
Look at it like it's just a quarterback position. None of these quarterbacks have ever thrown a pass in Beaver Stadium under any circumstances. So I think it's probably good you take advantage of every opportunity that you have, and especially for a new coaching staff and a new team. I mean, even if Rocco Beck is only throwing 7-on-7 passes, I think it's probably good just to have that. I mean, this is the weirdest quarterback room, right? Because you have him, you have a top backup who won't be there, right? Then you have a Division III All-American who might see more reps than anyone, and then you have a couple of true freshmen that nobody knows about, and will one of them ever even stay a quarterback? I mean, who knows, right?
Yep.
Oh,
talking about Falzone on that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because
I get that. Here's a feeling that I have about this whole thing with the Iowa State guys coming in here, and players and coaches. I think there's a feeling among all of them that, hey, this is pretty cool. We're in the big leagues now. Not that Iowa State was freaking Dartmouth or anything. I mean, but you know what I mean? Don't you get a sense that these guys are like, this is a step up. This is something that's bigger and higher level than we're used to. I doubt if they'd ever actually say those words out loud. I wouldn't if I was them, but I think I get that feeling, and there's going to be a little bit of that on Saturday.
The Iowa State Media Brigade and Iowa Media Brigade, if they're listening to this, are going to take offense. We still have to have Mark Brennan on over the summer.
I don't care.
He was Mark Brennan was public enemy number one when Rocco Beck came to sit down to the table and just tweeted something out, and apparently everybody in the state of Iowa hates Brennan.
No, Brennan is controversial. There's no question about that.
He is controversial. Speaking of quarterbacks, Frank takes us right into a Matt Campbell soundbite on a question that he received today about the development of depth at the quarterback position. Here's Coach Campbell.
Obviously, the biggest thing that's been a positive is Rocco, getting healthy and having the ability. You'll see him on Saturday in 7-on-7 and be able to that's why you'll get some drive at 7-on-7, because I want him to throw the football in this stadium with our fans and everybody else out there. I think it's really important. I think he's made really great strides to being back. Alex Mansky is back on campus, which is huge. I think monumental win for us. And I think, certainly trending towards where we would want him to be by the time we get to the summer so he can progress his way back. And then, Connor Berry, if you said who's the guy that's got the bulk of first team reps or second team reps and really made great strides, it's been Connor, and kind of a guy that kind of came out of nowhere a little bit for us. And I've been really proud of.
Coach Matt Campbell talking about his quarterbacks, what he's seen. Obviously, he's talking about Barry, Mansk, and Beck right there. Didn't get too much into Falzone. He did later on, just talking about their growth and development. But Barry has the great story, going from Division III, Christopher Newport, Manx got some action, albeit limited, at Iowa State coming over. But I think that's where, when you guys were talking about the drives, it's going to be interesting to see who does coach put out there for the majority of reps for the fans, because at the same time, this is a showcase for the fans that's pretty much put on to see. So how many reps does Connor Beck take on those drive segments?
Well, my guess is it's going to be Connor Barry is going to get a lot of them. And that is himself an interesting story. So many years of covering the BlueWhite game. There's a story maybe involving a player or a group of players in the BlueWhite game that absolutely has no relevance after the BlueWhite game for the rest of till the end of time. And maybe Barry is going to be that guy because circumstances have kind of vaulted him into this. He's the most experienced guy, so he's kind of getting a lot of work in the spring and is maybe a little more advanced than the other guys who are physically ready. I mean, who aren't ready for it yet, but freshmen and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing will be, can you really see a season in which Rocco Beck plays every meaningful snap? It's hard for me to see it. So who's going to be the backup? And until it happens, you could still have a Division III All-American out there in a meaningful game at some point. That would not surprise me one bit.
On the other hand, it is a little bit of news that Mansky is at least there now, and headed toward participating, and maybe he would be like the betting choice to be the number 2 guy, assuming he gets back to 100%.
Right.
Chris Rogers in like 2007 had a pair of sacks. I know a lot about Penn State football. I don't.
Chris Rogers.
I think it was Chris Rogers.
Scott Gobb had a big game.
Was it?
In the BlueWhite Game 100 years ago.
Who had a game? I'm just pulling up some stats here. Jackson Smolik had a touchdown in the passing game. Obviously, that paid dividends in the regular season last year. Paul Siang Solo. I pronounce his name wrong. Remember him? He threw a touchdown against Michigan after Morelli and Darryl Clark were both knocked out. 30 unanswered points in a BlueWhite game.
We had to remember Paul Cianciolo because Joe insisted on it. You guys forget about Cianciolo. Yeah, forget about it.
There's always a BlueWhite. There's always a BlueWhite game hero, is what I like to call it.
Yes. Remember Eric Heffelfinger?
Yes. You brought that up last year.
I'm doing it again.
You brought that up last year.
Okay, I love the name. There's never a name, never another name like it.
There was one point in the BlueWhite Game a couple of years ago when Anthony Ivy appeared to be a go-to guy in the offense, but
Get out of here.
that was short-lived.
Paul Jones, could he have been a star?
Paul Jones, remember him?
Yes, BlueWhite Game quarterback. Yeah. So,
What was his high school? He was from McKeesport. What was it?
Paul Jones.
Yeah, wasn't he a McKeesport kid?
I don't remember that.
That's going back to Bill O'Brien in the day, but he was Western. Was it Stowe Rocks? Stowe Rocks. I think that's Paul Jones's high school.
Speaking of BlueWhite Game history, remember the scoring format that Bill O'Brien concocted for the game? That was you needed a protractor and a slide rule to figure out what the score. Nobody in the stadium knew what the score was except Steve Jones, who was narrating it. And
maybe Steve Jones came up with it.
Could.
Very impressive.
Yeah. So, there's the BlueWhite Game is more, it's all for the fans. I don't even think the coaches ever really liked it. Joe used to do radio. Remember that?
Yeah, Joe, for many years. He
did radio during it. It was awesome.
Radio and let the assistants do it, which makes sense.
Bill O'Brien hated it because didn't Zach Zwinak break his arm in one of them? And then he's like, we were never going to hold something.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. 1985 spring game. Matt Kisner. Penn State would have won the national championship. They had some guy named John Schaefer at quarterback in 85. 366 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also threw 3 interceptions. Kisner should have been the quarterback based on BlueWhite Game.
Yeah.
We lost the game 31-26.
Yeah, that's it. That's exhibit A of don't put much stock in the BlueWhite Game.
I'm being sarcastic. So
I know you.
No listeners freak out about that. So it's going to be going NFL draft, 700,000 people, tons of economic benefit. I know you guys are up on that. Call your members of the Chamber of Commerce to talk about the economic benefit along the 3 rivers in Pittsburgh. Penn State should have a day 1 call. Have we narrowed down what is happening with Drew Allen?
No, I think he and Zane Durant are Penn State's biggest kind of mystery picks because I could see Aller going anywhere from like the 2nd to the 5th round. And I could see Zane Durant going anywhere from like the 4th round to almost undrafted. It depends on, like, if you look at mock drafts, they have those guys all over the place.
Yeah.
And,
well,
so.
I agree, and for a couple of reasons, different reasons in each case. In Aller's case, we know that the NFL freaks out about quarterbacks, but there are some people who consider him the third quarterback in the draft, and two of them are going to go in the first round. And other people consider him like they have this kid from North Dakota State ahead of him, where he's fifth or sixth, and he could really be all over the place. And then I think Zane Durant is seen as kind of a scheme specific guy. If you're the kind of defense that needs a 330-pound guy clogging the middle and occupying blockers, you don't want Zane Durant. If you have one of these smaller defenses that likes to, do offset lines and that kind of stuff, and maybe he is a guy in the Aaron Donald mold, although obviously he is not. He's not Aaron Donald. But
remember James's soundbite? I always felt that was directed at Zane Durant. A lot of guys think they're Aaron Donald, but they're not. I always specifically thought that quote.
Yeah, a lot of guys think they're Aaron Donald, and God only made one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought that was always debated at them. But, it's good that Penn State's name is going to be called, a Penn Stater's name is going to be called in the first round for brand recognition. I know it's a different era, but I think that's always true. If only two quarterbacks get drafted in the first round, I'll be shocked. I just don't. I think these GMs get so scared once the quarterbacks are taken 100%. That they end up launching into this. And I don't know.
I don't think anybody loves this quarterback group as a group, but it happens more often than not. What you just described.
They might be saying that. They might be talking that, and then there's going to be people that get in their ear in that room. And it's like, hey, we need a quarterback, and this guy was taken, and we weren't thinking he was going to be taken, and somebody jumps up and it throws everything else into chaos.
The other thing is, I sense that, for the last month or so, you're constantly hearing stuff and sort of getting the lay of the land. I feel like Big V's stock has gone up a little bit. One of the guys that I really pay attention to has him ranked as the number 10 player in the draft, regardless of position, which is pretty strong. And he is almost certainly going to go in the first round. And to some extent, it's a specific need thing if you need interior linemen, but he is definitely considered an elite prospect.
Yeah, I think Vega, top 15 I think that's his high point though, but the Baltimore Ravens are sitting, he'd be perfect for them.
That's who I picked. I've made the predictions for all the Penn State guys that are likely, and that's the one I picked, the Ravens.
If the Ravens decide to go somewhere else, the Steelers would scoop him up in a moment if he would still be available when they pick, but I don't think he will. And one quick thing, I think for Drew Aller, I don't know about the team, but for Drew Aller, I think it'd be great for him if the Los Angeles Rams decided late in the third round that he's their guy, because that situation there behind Matthew Stafford and with the coaches employed there to help him grow him, I think that could be a great kind of mid-ground pick for him.
I'm gonna restack my guide to the Penn State draftees, because that's exactly what I said about Drew. I think the Rams, it's a really good spot for him.
Much rather for him to go there than if they pass on him and the New York Jets come sniffing 10 picks later in the fourth round, right? So,
although my fellow Cedar Crest alum Frank Reich will be working with it.
Well, I guess that would be a bonus, right? That's a bonus.
Two things. I always thought when the draft predictions before the combine were coming out, and it's like, okay, let's break down some of these people, and it's like Drew Aller, where would he be a perfect fit for? And then everybody would say, a lot of people did say the Rams just because of the situation that is there. I saw some people mention the Lions also because of learning under.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
And kind of
I didn't see anybody else say that. I didn't notice that, but I thought of that. Yeah. Anyway.
But then, right after the combine, it was Drew Aller is severely undercoached. And it was after all these LA stories. And then it's like, what kind of sources and GMs would be saying that? And it just fit the mold that it could be coming from LA. So I always thought that track, and everybody around Baltimore has been calling Vega to go there, and that's pretty much a concrete thing. And then the Dexter Lawrence trade happened, and now it becomes even a bigger issue for Baltimore with him being on in the interior. So it's actually the Baltimore Banner actually had that article out there that's had Vega, this is the guy for the Ravens.
Makes a lot of sense.
Some things do make sense. Not much makes sense in the NFL, especially when it comes to the draft. That does make sense. So
see what happens. And then the other, I think the running backs are very interesting. Where are they going to fall, and what team situation are they going to fall into? I really don't know. Those two I was really guessing on, but yeah, I don't know.
How many Penn State players get picked overall?
Well, I got 7.
I think 7's a safe bet. I mean, the record
is pretty safe. Yeah.
The record for 7 rounds for Penn State is 10. They had 10 guys to me that are possibles, but possibles never always work out, right? I mean, what are the odds?
Who are, that's interesting. Who are 8, 9, and 10, Frank? Like after Zaki Wheaton.
8. Okay, 8 would be Drew Shelton. 9 would be Khalil Dinkins. 10 would be Nolan Rucci. And Nolan Rucci in particular has showed up on some mock drafts. I don't know about Khalil Dinkins. I mean, you can probably, to me, interchange Drew Shelton and Zane Durant, maybe with where they end up, though I think Zane Durant has a much larger fluctuation point as to where he could go. I don't think Drew Shelton is going to go before the 6th or 7th round, maybe, but there's 10 guys, at least 10.
Go, though. Yeah, I kind of forgot about him. You would think he would go. He's
so solid and yet questionably limited in some ways.
I guess.
I think he's late round. I don't think he's.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, but
if Penn State as a team had the year that they should have had, I don't think it's any question that 10 guys would have gotten drafted. Yeah. And at the same time, if Penn State has the year that they expected, you would think that Trevor Pena would have had a big year for Penn State to do that. Hudson would have had a bigger year. Those guys as well would have been on some draft boards just because of the system they were playing in. The success of the system would have probably pushed them up. But I mean, when you look at the draft board that Penn State has, and we're saying 7 guys are getting drafted, and your all-time record running backs are, down, and then some of your starting offensive line, which powered a run game the year before, possibly not getting drafted. I think that is a byproduct of the disappointment year and what was put on film last year.
Oh gosh.
Well, I mean, that's common sense to say what was put on film, but going into last year, we were talking about this might be the best draft class ever for Penn State, and with underclassmen coming out.
Well, 2 guys in particular. I mean, Drew Aller was looked at as a possible first-round choice if he went in development the way people thought he could. Well, it went completely sideways, so that never turned out. And then a guy like Khalil Dinkins, I mean, James Franklin was calling him the best tight end in the country, partly because of his blocking. I mean, and Jack Ham, for example, maintained that he was a tremendous blocker, but Khalil Dinkins had such scant involvement in the offense that you almost at times completely forgot any of that. So to me, he went from a pretty solid NFL draft pick to it almost now be a surprise to me to some degree if he gets picked. So to me, that's kind of two guys that kind of show you where.
Yeah, it's a good point. Of course, if they did, you can say if they'd have had a better season, well, then all these guys would have better tape. They would have tape of them succeeding. But that's kind of what you're saying. That's kind of the point. Yeah.
But I mean, it was such a colossal failure of the tape that was put out there. I mean, it's bad. I mean, that's something you could have a bad season, like a guy could have a bad season, but because the team has success, it doesn't really, knock them too much. And
I'm sure, I'm sure that Drew Shelton's tape is not terrible. I'm sure that Nolan Rucci's tape is not terrible. But in a draft where there's a ton of wide receivers. There's extraordinary quality and quantity of wide receivers in this draft. The Penn State guys are not on the radar at all.
Here's a point for you, Andrew, going to that. Out of all these guys we're talking about, who put out better tape? Who actually had a better season last year than what was hoped for, predicted, expected? And I would say arguably only one guy out of all of them. I'd say all of them, most all of them did worse. Literally every single one than what you expect. Katron, to me, is the only guy that definitively, at least in some ways, played above expectations. And part of that was because of the way the season went as well. Because if the season goes differently, he's not probably the guy getting all those carries at the last 5 games. Everybody else either struggled to maintain. I'd almost argue every single one almost was worse than what we thought.
Stock went down.
Yeah,
I thought Wheatley had.
Wheatley held his own to me, maybe.
Yeah, he was right there.
But he wasn't involved. He didn't have the season. He never had a game like he did in 2025 in the Orange Bowl. He wasn't as active in the things that he's known for, meaning creating turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, he had great receiver with Iowa, but I mean,
who had the worst film from last year?
The worst?
Who scored it?
To me, you go Drew Aller because
you're going Drew Aller?
Yeah, because I mean, was there one game where he to people played as well the entire game as what you thought, and then he only had parts of 6 games to even play at all. He played well in the 4th quarter against Oregon, but then that didn't end real well. Now, did it?
No. So tell me if I'm wrong when I say the person who put the worst film out last year from Penn State. And again, I don't like to feel like I'm picking on college players, but I think from the hype to what it was, AJ Harris. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that's a good player. I mean, yeah. Okay, that's a good call. He wasn't horrible, but maybe you guys think he was horrible, but I mean, his stock really dropped.
Well, considering he was
regarded when he first got here, and I think early in his time here. But yeah,
possible first-round draft pick goes from a possible first-round draft pick to being benched against Northwestern.
Yeah.
That's
he's
bad.
completely off the draft radar now. Yeah,
and I don't know. Again, I don't know if there was dealings with that, injury dealings or what. I mean, we asked Terry Smith, and Terry Smith was like, "No, I pulled him out." So
we don't know if there's injury dealings, but the NFL knows, and we're not hearing anything about AJ Harris. So.
Well, didn't he transfer? Though he's still playing, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not.
He's not going in the draft.
Let me double check. He's just a transfer, and he is. Where's he at? Indiana.
Wow. Oh, he'll be an All-American next.
Hold on. 24/7
Heisman.
Georgia, Penn State, Indiana. So
he might win the Heisman at Indiana.
He was looking for a new home. He found a new home. I had to double check that once I saw Indiana. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out from how he plays for Indiana, see what Kurt gets out of him. But there it is. Interesting. I mean, that's it. It's just funny to watch how things matriculate, in a player's career from hype in one season to what is being talked about the next season. And he did not have a good year by his own standards. He'd say he did not have a good year. Now, going back into Penn State and, what to think about for the blue-white game and everything, I'm excited to see the wide receiver room with new coaches, completely new guys to just talk about. Also, the running back room. For the first time in 4 years, we have new guys to talk about. You have Hanson coming from Iowa State, and then James Peoples from Ohio State. I think that's an interesting dynamic, as well as Quentin Martin and Cam Wallace, still there. But Unless I missed something. But the receivers in the running back room are really intriguing to me. And defensively, the linebacker room is also really intriguing to me. I don't know what you guys
Yeah,
think.
there's position groups where they have a fair number of guys. Wide receiver is certainly one of these. They have a fair number of guys, but you really don't have much of an idea at all how it shapes up in terms of who's going to start, who's buried. You may get a little bit of a broad sense of that from the blue-white game. I think in the past you have in this kind of situation. So maybe we'll get a little sense of that.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because you're wanting to focus on certain guys for certain reasons, but I don't think this, even when it in any year, did really the format of it really allow you to glean a whole lot. Like Penn State has a whole new defensive line. More so, and to me, they have as many questions there because they've reshaped completely the tackle position, and we have no idea who's really going to be a star edge rusher in a sense. Okay, but are we going to learn anything about that on
Well,
Saturday?
I don't think edge rusher, but we might get a sense at tackle of which of these big guys that they brought in are maybe ahead of the others, maybe a little bit. I don't think it end. I agree with you about that, Frank.
Yeah. So, I mean, the running backs definitely. I think running, like you said, running backs, receivers. That's easy because, hey, do they look like they're catching the football? Are they catching the football? Or they look like they know what they're doing? Do they have a connection of any type with quarterback, for God's sakes?
And then there's going to be a little bit of running back as an example of this. There's going to be a little, I mean, they have a kid from Iowa State who ran for 950 yards last year. So he may get the work in the blue-white game just because he's comfortable in their system and they know what he is a little bit. Maybe that's something where you could, if he comes out and gets a lot of carries, you wouldn't necessarily draw big conclusions from that.
I just want to see Kobe Howard catch a pass.
Well, you've been saying that since end of September, though. Didn't we say that all last fall?
Yeah.
Every time we got on the podcast, and
What did we say?
Because Kobe Howard would have one great catch for like 18 yards, and that would be the only catch he'd have the entire.
Kobe Howard. Let's see it.
But the people want it. Remember, so much flash. I don't know what the definition of flash is in some people's mind, but I know when I see a flash, like I see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't see no flash from any wide receiver last year on the field. So
I think I hear it again read about consistency with him, right? That's the big thing. And I think James Peoples will have flash. I think he will be a flash guy. It would not surprise me if he hurdles somebody on Saturday in some way.
Very specific.
How's that?
Way to go, Frank.
Yeah.
He looks good to me too. I agree. He looks like a beast.
Well, I don't know how good of a complete.
I don't either, but he certainly looks like an elite running back.
Flash. I think Flash is there.
What we need to do is, I think we need to open it up that we could give some prizes out for anybody that emails in a picture or tweets at us. You see our handles up there. If you guys see any 1-0 remnants in the stadium, make sure you tag us in a tweet. We'll get you some type of prize. It might be a tasty cake donut or something like that.
Wow.
Or something. But we'll get you something. I'll fund that one. So if people out there see any 1-0 signs or anything like that buried in the bowels of Beaver Stadium, let us know about it. We'll get you a prize. Not saying what it is, but we'll get you.
How about if we see a higher Terry Smith sign? Do we get?
No higher Terry signs because
Kalista says no.
No.
I'm thinking of like slogans and signs from the last year that stand out. So anyway,
do you have any beef with Matt Campbell so far? He's been on the job a couple months.
No, I think he's done great. I think he's done well as can be expected at what you can possibly do at this point. I mean, there's only so much you can accomplish that fans and reporters see you in January, February, March, and April. I mean, I think he's done it all. I mean, he's recruiting well now. I mean, I think that's kind of might have been a concern at first for fans. I think they're like getting exactly the type of Penn State recruits you think they should get. to me.
National
Campbell.
rank 6. We didn't even get there. We're talking about the blue-white game in the draft so long. I didn't even get there. My one complaint is he uses the word flash, sends a tremor down my neck from.
Do you like how he stands up all the time at press conferences?
I do.
He's a stand-up guy.
Yeah,
I do. It's a symbol. The symbolism is there. Frank, you talked about it. I mean, it's what's impressive to me is the area from where he's getting some of the guys that maybe people didn't think. And this Telfair from Euclid, Ohio, that's a football area. And this guy is a four-star recruit. He should know how to play. I think he's not looking at it. Position ranked 14th on 24/7 has him. Again, Penn State's ranked 6th. He went on a tear on April 19th. What? Penn State got 2 guys on April 19th, 17th, 18th, 19th. 4 guys. John Sasak from Central Catholic, Pittsburgh Central Catholic, at the guard center position. So 4 guys Matt Campbell cleaned up in 3 days, and I think that alleviated a lot of concern, as you said, Frank, from, Matt Campbell's not the guy. I saw somebody tweet at me, you hired Timu James Franklin, for the recruiting trail. I don't think that's the case. The guy flat out coaches football. And again, Penn State's in the top 10 right now in recruiting.
Yeah. I mean, he recruited Iowa State. That's not easy to do, right? He recruited well enough there to win. And now suddenly he has a new opportunity, but it's going to take time for him and his staff to get to know all these players again, but he's using what he has too, right? Because Penn State never had a head coach that had his ties to those parts of the country, and he hired assistants that have ties, and assistants are huge because look at this class. 4 guys are cornerbacks out of 11. Well, who coaches cornerbacks? Who's developed relationships with cornerbacks?
Exactly.
Terry Smith, okay? And Telfair, for example, Terry Smith was on him like 2-3 years ago, for gosh sakes. He was like they were the first team, and that matters. Now they're going to have to recruit Telfair literally probably every day until December to keep him, because that's how good of a prospect he is and probably how even more he will blow up. But to get him on board, 4 guys, I mean, at that one position, I mean, that's huge. And it wouldn't happen if Terry isn't there.
And did I say wide receiver for Telfair earlier? Did I miss it?
Oh, I don't know. I thought you said quarterback.
Telfair's quarterback, Bloom, is the wide receiver.
I think Telfair can play both ways, though. I mean, he's talked all about as being a cornerback, but I think he has 2-way potential too, though.
Well, like 180, I think. Not a huge guy, but big enough.
Not a huge guy.
I'm excited for, so far, just in this class, Cooper Terwilliger. I'm excited for that. He's rated as a 4-star, and I'm not big into ratings, but he's from Pierre, South Dakota. And I just picture this guy coming in with farm boy strength, playing tight end.
I'm not looking forward to seeing his name for 4 years, but other
you'll get it pretty quickly.
He has a name right out of the Higgins Valley in Schuylkill County. So I'm just saying, I'm excited to see him. I want to see him up close and personal. Hopefully he's there on Saturday. I just want to take an impression of it. Tight end from South Dakota, committed to Penn State. But yeah, Matt Campbell's on a roll. So much goes for the naysayers who said Penn State wouldn't be able to recruit post James Franklin. And did you notice there's not a lot of stuff on Twitter with Penn State football lately? Under this new regime.
Yeah, that's you're right. There's not.
You mean that Penn State football hasn't tweeted out? Or?
I think Penn State football has toned it down. And definitely from the staff. And I think the main football category, kind of the toning down.
Yeah, but did you see? I mean, did you see the little? Oh, you didn't miss the Nick Singleton, Cordell Mitchell thing that Penn State football tweeted out, did you?
Well, I didn't miss it. I mean, that was Adam Schefter that.
Yeah, but Penn State football took quickly up on, hey.
Oh, did I missed that.
Oh, yeah. They said,
like,
oh, no. Look at that. They made light of that blunder.
Yeah, Cordell Mitchell, coached by Jim Rooney, a graduate of Marion Catholic High School in Schuylkill County. Jim Rooney was up at Syracuse coaching them back in the day. I love Cordell Mitchell. I knew who it was right away. I'm surprised somebody in Penn State's somebody in the social media team, since they're much younger, would recognize that as Cordell Mitchell.
Oh, they put up a nice little.
I missed that.
Yeah,
Tip of
you
the
gotta
hat.
look it up.
Tip of the hat.
Well, they're paying attention at least.
Yeah.
There you go.
All in fun.
Yeah, I was excited. Once I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's Cordell Mitchell. Shefty
Oh,
got that tweet down quick. So guys,
you actually knew that running back right away was Cordell Mitchell. I not even thought about that name.
Oh, I didn't know it.
15 years.
yeah, right off the bat. I knew it
Why
was
would
Cordell.
that name even be in your head? That's almost scary.
Because a family, I said his coach, I actually used to park when I went to Syracuse University. I parked my car in his high school coach's driveway.
It's another coal region connection.
His high school coach played at Marian Catholic.
And
Yeah. Wow. Or one of his high school coaches played at Marian Catholic way back in the day. Went to Syracuse, stayed up there. That's where Cordell's from. And who could forget the Orange, not the Orange Bowl, the Citrus Bowl. When Curtis Enos was suspended, Penn State had trouble running the football. And Cordell Mitchell, I believe, was the starting running back that day for Curtis Enos, as Penn State was without Joe Juravicius and Curtis Enos. And right after Katana Carter, that's who the number 32 went to. So, I mean, when you think of running backs, it's Kajana with 32. And, after that, you knew that picture was in the 90s. I didn't have.
Well, that's my first thought was that it was Kijana, actually.
Yeah.
But
the neck collar for me is what gave it away.
Okay.
So,
there you go.
but 32 neck collar, Cordell Mitchell. So,
I just want to say about recruiting, I'm going to be a little bit of the negative guy. I'm not saying that they're not going to get there. I'm not saying that Matt Campbell was incapable of getting there, but they're still not recruiting the kind of guys that Ohio State is recruiting and Michigan is recruiting and Notre Dame is recruiting. And that's where they have to get to go where they want to go. I know they're 6th in the team rankings, but like I'm looking at here, Oklahoma is first. They have 11 4-stars. Texas A&M 1 5-star and 10 4-stars. The USC 7 4-stars. Ohio State a 5-star and 6 4-stars. You can certainly you can get carried away with the star ratings, and maybe they mean even less now in this environment with the portal and all that stuff. But it's still, in general, it's significant, I think. And I'm not saying that Campbell can't get there, but he's not there yet, in my view.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you got to give them time to regroup. Yeah. I think they lost a few guys in this class that were really highly rated after James was fired, that they're circling back on that could make a difference. They have a couple quarterbacks that are highly rated that could make a difference. And going back to Terwilliger, they did beat out Notre Dame, for example, for him, which I think was big, for example, and others. And for Telfair, they beat out basically the entire nation, at least at the moment, for him. That kid could have gone anywhere from Notre Dame to Ohio State, at least offers, right?
Yeah.
So, I think to me, it's just kind of like I started off by saying it's a kind of a typical Penn State class so far. I don't know if Penn State will ever recruit in the star fashion ever that, like, say, Ohio State does, for example. I just don't know if they're built looking for guys that way. I don't know if that will happen, but
my thought on that is with this era, as Mike, you alluded to it, is, we've seen teams inject to older players and get older much faster. Indiana was a much older team last year than a lot of the other teams.
Yeah, that's right.
If your capital is going there, I think your capital goes a lot further, being that every single player is a rental for 1 year. Why rent a freshman when I could rent a junior that's already been in the weight training programs and things like that? I mean, maybe it's a thought process. And that way, people have talked about Matt Campbell doing less with more. Maybe that's a thought process. And as we've talked about, me especially have talked about Penn State athletics taking a step forward for some sports. Maybe that's how Penn State, maybe that's the philosophy going forward. To do less with more.
Well, if kids have to play right away, then that, to me, that argues against well,
Yeah.
let's take this kid because he's developmental. You know what I mean? That argues against that. That may be, that's an oversimplification probably, but again, I feel like I feel like I look at these kids and who else is recruiting them? Who else is in their final 4 or 5 or whatever it is choices? I put a lot of significance on that. And
Well, and the other thing, Penn State, even under Franklin, of course, and I think now is they get on guys pretty early.
yeah,
And
that's part of it.
I think they had a deal early on where Franklin would get on high quality quarterbacks early, maybe even get a commit, but couldn't hold on to them. And you could judge by the offers. I think some other positions you get on guys early, you don't, and sometimes the other offers don't even maybe add up to how good that guy can be if you get on him so early. So yeah, I think it's harder.
There could have been examples of that under Franklin.
Yeah,
No
I
doubt.
think it's harder to tell right now because of what you said about transfers. You're balancing now way more than ever between what you're allotting for experienced transfers. You can't go all that route, right? You still got to develop guys. You still got to have young guys. How do you balance it? Where do you balance it? This group of coaches literally had to start from ground zero.
Yeah.
Franklin didn't have to start from ground zero the past 10 years with recruiting. So this is a different animal too, right off the bat. And I think they helped out their recruiting class in 2027 by some of the transfers they got to start off the year, right? Less pressure on the 26 and 27 class when you bring in 325-pound defensive tackles who have already played 3 and 4 years in other places, right? You don't need to development as much. You needed to do what they did. 20-some guys from Iowa State that Campbell knows. I think that's.
And the other thing is, again, we're going to be talking about this forever, but what Indiana did last year with maybe one of the historically great college teams and did not have a lot of 5 stars, probably didn't have a lot of 4 stars.
What's the magic there? You take a bunch of guys from a team that was one of the worst ever, at least kind of success wise. You add in a bunch of James Madison transfers.
Yep.
And maybe a couple of hits in the transfer portal, of course, a quarterback, and all of a sudden, look what they did 2 years in a row. Can some of that magic be there for Penn State and Matt Campbell this year? There's some similarities.
There you have it.
We shall see. So, all right. That does it for this edition of the Blue White Tailgate Podcast. We'll see you on Saturday. Make sure you reach out and email us BlueWhiteTailgatePodcast@gmail.com or just hit us up on Twitter. For all the people that liked a couple of my sarcastic tweets, just would appreciate it. 400 likes on just a random thing about recruiting. So appreciate the follow. Mike appreciates all the follow. Frank Bonanni appreciates all the social media love. Make sure you're hitting up the Mike Gross Rational Product and also Frank Bonanni at the York Daily Record. We will see you from the top of Beaver Stadium after the Blue White Game.